do you want to go into our featured review? No, I feel like we've been chatting forever.
Oh, no. Yeah. I like the chat at the beginning. We have, off air, we have a chat before. It's always a good warm up to get your cadence together. And I always am a fan of talking about, even if it's a little bit long. I enjoy the talk. We get in a mode and we get on each other's wavelength, and it's such a good tactic. But yeah, we can
agree.
We can talk a war that was civil.
A war that was civil. Yes. So, as you can infer from that, our featured review tonight is going to be for Civil War. Of course, we're going to do a non-spoiler review, and then we'll do a spoiler review. We'll bring us into the spoiler review with a clip from the trailer. Check the show notes for timestamps if you want to navigate around or just skip to the secondary review with Mike. So that those show notes are also at obsessiveviewer.com/OV424. And to bring us into the review, to the non-spoiler review, the plot summary of Civil War is a journey across a dystopian future America following a team of military-embedded journalists as they race against time to reach D.C. before rebel factions descend upon the White House. The movie was written and directed by Alex Garland, and the cast includes Nick Offerman, Kirsten Dunst, Wagner, Moura, Cailee, Spaeny, and McKinley Henderson. So, Brandon, when it comes to Alex Garland, before we get into our thoughts about Civil War, what's your relationship with Alex Garland as a filmmaker, and how were you anticipating Civil War?
All right. Well, he's a guy that I've genuinely liked his films. Annihilation is one of my favorite post-2000s films.
Nice.
Really like that one because I just soak up something different. Whether it's a movie, you watch it, you put it away for a bit, you come back, and you're like, I see something totally different in this movie.
Yes.
Ex Machina is a fun movie. I thought it was quite good, fun movie. Men is where I talk about why I am such a director hound more than I am fandom things with people. You know how people are
sure.
So I always think it's more interesting. I'll put it this way: a bad John Carpenter film is more fascinating and interesting to me than some generic guy's okay film. That's always, and I think Men fell into that category for me. While it didn't quite work as well, it was a very interesting film to look at. It's one of those small scale movies that look bigger than a lot of our large scale movies, which I appreciate. Like The Green Knight, man, that thing was huge on the big screen. It was so great. I'm like, why don't some of the comic book movies feel like this? So,
right.
And Men definitely felt that way. And so he has his name on it. I'm interested in the project. And I saw the trailer for it and I was like, oh, well, we are here in history where someone's going to make the cautionary tale of what's happening right now. So I was like, it intrigued me. And they have that trailer moment with Jessie Plemons that's in the film that comes up. I'm like, okay, that's a good little hook. So I was like, all right, this is interesting. It didn't look like anything he'd done before.
Right.
So I was there. Now this is it from him. So he announced he's retiring. So I was like, all right. So that was kind of my preconceived thing going in.
Nice. That's really interesting. Also, just as a brief aside, I saw this really funny meme of Jessie Plemons that is an amalgam of his lines from Game Night and Killers of the Flower Moon and Civil War, where it just it was all mixed together, and it's him faded in and out, all three versions of him. And it's I've come here to see what kind of American is profitable to Frito-Lay or something. Just an amalgam of all that. I got a big kick out of that. But that's really interesting that Annihilation works so well for you. That's a movie that I like. My relationship with Alex Garland it goes back to 28 Days Later. 28 Days Later. And
I was speaking his directorial.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. In terms of his writing effort and his collaborations with Danny Boyle, namely 28 Days Later and Sunshine. The Beach I haven't really watched. I watched it once, I think, but I never really returned to it. But 28 Days Later and Sunshine are like two of my like all-timers, like favorite movies.
Yeah.
Love them. And then Ex Machina is up there for me too. And then Annihilation and Men both are kind of like I kind of have like different experiences with them in that on one hand, Annihilation I feel like was pretty like dense to where like it's the kind of movie you need to return to feed more off of.
Right.
Whereas Men is like, there's some weird things in that. There's some interesting things in that, but I don't know if I've ever had the pull to really revisit it or go back to it. Which
I've seen it twice. I saw it in the theater and I reviewed the Blu-ray. That's
nice.
So yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but Civil War I was very excited about just because like the hype surrounding it, and it being like the most expensive A24 movie or what have you. Did you ever see his show Devs, by the way?
No, I didn't see Devs.
No. It's really good, man. It's so good. Okay. It's on FX on Hulu. It's like an 8-episode sci-fi miniseries about like a tortured guy who creates like not AI. It's not Ex Machina, but it's like he creates this whole like thing. There's a mystery. It's really good. It's really good.
Okay. I have to ask you.
Highly recommend.
So, I have to ask you. Annihilation. So, were you familiar? Have you watched a lot of Andrei Tarkovsky films?
Only Solaris.
Okay, so if you watch Stalker, which is a very long movie, you might kind of get where that one's sort of coming from. There's a lot of similarities to it, and it's genuine. If you see like Mirror as well, like it's definitely. He very much was watching a lot of that when he was thinking of Annihilation. Yeah. So that, and I love Tarkovsky, and his films just look amazing. So that's kind of a lot of where my passion, like really attaching right away to Annihilation, comes from. Possibly. Nice. So I was wondering, I'm like, I wonder if you've seen Tarkovsky stuff. So that would be maybe where our disconnect comes from in our views on the film, where we came from coming to it. So maybe that's where that would be. So
I definitely need to brush up on him. I really like Solaris. I've seen it a couple of times, and like it's great. It's incredible.
Spooky as hell. It's one of the most haunting movies I think I've ever seen.
It's so surreal and weird. Yeah. Yep.
It's got one of the best, like, what happened to the space station that no one's on right now movies ever. And the whole white, like, I love that. I used to pop. Oddly enough, that was like a birthday movie for me for many years, where I was like, I'm just set time aside to watch this movie on my birthday. Granted, I love the opening. I love the rain. I love him out in the grass and stuff like that. But watching the video and the car drive, I'm like, I want to get to space. But
yes,
I will say that, and I'm a patient movie watcher, but like, I know where my goods are coming, and that's I could spend the whole time at that space station, but
totally. Like I remember the last time I saw it was a couple of years ago or a few years ago. We were doing a whole series of episodes on picking movies from the Ebert's Great Movies List series. We're not really doing that anymore since I'm doing the weekly thing. But one of the ones was Solaris, and like I remember, like I haven't gone back and listened to that episode, but I feel like I was trying to make sense of the whole car driving sequence, but I don't know if I did. So like it might be like a cringy, like I think that this is what he was saying about this, when it's like, no, he's in a car, man. It's nothing. Like I don't know, but anyway, So Alex Garland's cool dude. Excited. I was excited about Civil War. Brandon, in non-spoiler terms, how did you feel about the war that was civil, as you call it?
Yes, the Civil War. So, I like this movie. I thought it was good, not great. Like I think it like had the ability to be great if it wanted to be more profound with some of the things it was saying. And it was fascinating. Like I think the finale is a excellent put together piece of editing and trajectory and choreography, laying it out and stuff. I really thought that was good. There's some other sequences in there too. I felt like a lot of this movie, there's a lot of things in this movie that were a little bit too on the nose telegraphed. throughout, and stuff like that. And there's some conceits you got to make, but they're I like the focusing on the journalistic approach to the movie. Is not the first time it's ever been done. Of course, there's like Salvador and like Full Metal Jacket's even more journalistic approach too. But like a lot of them. But I like the real focus on that a bit, because it's not all war all the time, and you get to see like the open roads and the empty countryside quite a bit, and allow us to like see our characters mesh and develop them a little bit. So yeah, that all works for me. Kirsten Dunst, more leads for her, please, because she's been doing some excellent work here with this. The Power of the Dog and like Fargo, and like I'm really liking this part of her career. Not that she was ever bad before. I think she was unfairly treated a bit in the 2000s with tabloids and stuff, when it's like, dude, just let her be a young girl, man. Like, but she's quite good here. There's something else in my brain real quick here, but yeah, there was a bit for me, there was a little bit of confusion on sometimes when they would gather with people which part of the secession pieces they were from.
That was a little confusing to me too, and I kind of feel like maybe that's the intention.
It wants to be apolitical, but it says political things, and I don't know if that's meant to cause confusion, and it's unclear. But like, yeah, there's some weird things, but I think the ultimate goal of this, that I think it does better than anything we've seen before, including the news, is it makes a digestible way and relatable way for us over here in like the United States or North America to kind of relate and feel for what a journalist might be going through overseas in a wartime effort. Like that may be what I think is going on here, where you can like, because you're seeing environment, you're in a time period that is present, and you have characters and you have a lot of like communications that make a little bit of sense to you and can be seen, and you're like, oh. And I was thinking this whole time, I'm like, okay, I kind of get what they're trying to do. Maybe they're trying to show like, this is what happens in those countries. But that's what it's like now, and this is what these people really go through, that you sit and throw garbage at and call, fake media and like all this, and the journalists are bad and all this, and this is what they're going through, and they come home to your BS a lot of the time. So I wonder if that's maybe part of the goal with the overall thematics of the movie. But yeah, it's a lot here. I could yammer, but I definitely want to hear.
Please do. Yeah, like that's something I honed in on pretty quickly too, was that idea of like there's been a lot of criticism of it, or a lot of, I wouldn't say backlash, but a lot of like critiques of this movie, saying like, how, like, why is Texas and California teaming up? Like, what's that? Like, this is clearly made by a British guy who knows nothing about the political stuff here. It's like, yeah, I feel like that's intentional. Like, that's the point. Like, it's creating this completely fictitious political opposition in the United States for the services of this movie, specifically to showcase that this is what it looks like. Like, this is like us, like you said, recognizing the things that are seen overseas and away from here, but seeing it here in the US is jarring. And to do that in such a way that is not about like MAGA or like Antifa or any whatever words you want to throw out there, to do that where it's like it's intentionally vague, creates this much more immersive, for me, experience of like, yeah, this is nuts, this is crazy. And then something else that really kind of stood out to me on that front was that I get the sense that like there are so many different like bits and pieces here that feel like it feels like a certain sect of the population who maybe are not the best at media literacy will see it and be like, oh my God, no, this is they're attacking my guy. They're attacking the guy who can do no wrong, who's on trial. But like they're doing like this is an attack on him, and it's like no. This is just like showing what like a fascist regime would look like in the US.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe not it's maybe a bigger reflection of like your position that it looks like your position. Like that's the best way I can say it without going on a soapbox. But yeah.
The thing is, like you mentioned, like the MAGA and Tifa thing, but the sad thing about stuff like MAGA and whatnot, but like the catchphrases, the idea, those aren't new. Those are been around for a long time. Like if you go back through history and you even look at films and things and see like leaders and stuff, they're saying the same phrases. They're shouting the same things. So it's kind of a universal. Granted, it's a hot button topic now, but it's sadly been around for ages when things happen and stuff comes around like this. Usually when there's a significant movement of progress and change, it's the last ditch effort of a group to be like, oh my world. But so I think it is definitely confusion's the name of the game here. And the Texas California thing, the things where why would they like one, it could be a gag. It could be a joke, like, who would have thought them? But also, not everybody in Texas is this bleeding red Republican. And maybe they wouldn't, you can push them to a degree where they've had pretty close governor election and like elections within their state. Just like, I hate it when they're like, well, boycott this state. I'm like, you can't boycott the people of the state. The people that live in a state are not all representative of their politician that got elected. That is not the case. And you can't do that. And that's the case with Texas in this. It can't be the case. And the notable thing about Texas, they're like two of our biggest landmass states.
Yep.
So that's a notable thing. I'm just like, not everybody in a red state believes in all the values there. Red, they have to live their lives too. Moving's not easy. You don't pick up and just go. And change never happens in a place when you do that. Like that's not how stuff goes. You have to fight. You have to weather the storm. You have to share. You have to promote your values in ways beyond the ballot box that hopefully influences and keeps them around. Like going around. And I'm not trying to say like Republicans all bad, but some people stand for all bad and politicians. They're voting for politicians with awful values and not good things in mind that they don't realize they're voting for a lot of the time.
Yes, exactly. Well said. That is the best like diplomatic way to say it too without going off on a tangent. So I appreciate that. But yeah, and that's a great example too. It's like, I mean, not everyone in a red state is like red state person or anything. Like I'm not presuming what your political leanings are, although I can kind of figure out from context, but like we're both in Indiana. Like, like this is, I've often heard Indiana referred to as the southernmost northern state. So, or
the south of the Midwest.
The northernmost southern state. But and
well, so, we went through RIFRA back in the day, and I really learned a lot about people saying I was so mad about that back in the day, and then we have like George Takei on television saying we will boycott you. It will hurt the economy. Many of you will lose jobs, but we have to. I'm like, that's not cool, man. Like I thought we share, and I see them. They did it to North Carolina when they had that stupid bathroom law thing happen. Where we're boycotting it. I'm like, stop it, because you're hurting the people. You're hurting people you care about too. You're trying to do harm to that just to prove a point. Like, no, like you need to be more like Georgia and try to just fix things from within and support them fixing things within, not just boycott. Go visit that state and start helping. Like that's right. If there's a problem, don't boycott.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of there's a lot of things that like promote togetherness, don't promote, because that's just
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's frustrating. The whole world's frustrating. But at least we're not to a point of civil war yet.
No. And this movie put, I think a lot of things when this trailer came out, there's a lot of like, oh my God, there's people that said, oh, this, I want to see this. There are people like, that's interesting. And then they're like, oh my God. It's like, well, no, somebody was going to make this. Somebody at this time. I'm kind of glad I was glad it was a filmmaker like Garland taking it. But then this was, I feel like of his movies, the ones he's directed, I feel like this is like his most accessible one yet.
I would say so. Yeah.
And I was wondering, like, was I confused about some things because it was easy and I'm not used to things being easy on his movies? But I feel like this was his most like, and considering like it is one of the biggest A24 openings ever.
Oh yeah.
Stuff like I'm like, yeah, like his other movies have all been really low grossing, and this one hit like a nice pile of money for an opening weekend. I'm like, yeah, I feel like this is his accessible one.
First time they've had a top of the domestic box office. Which is incredible. That's incredible. But yeah, like it is his most accessible, and I think it's because it's intentionally vague. Like there are moments here and there where it's like they reference like, oh yeah, the president is like in his third term, and like just I so love the way that he is able to just do the exposition dump through just natural dialogue, and it's like they're having a conversation in the van or in the truck on their way to DC, and he's like, yeah, I like, these are the questions I'm gonna ask, or like, should I ask this or this? And like as he's saying this, it's like, oh, this is the backstory, like this is what led to this. And like it's an easy screenwriting trick, but it's like it's done so like naturally that I didn't see it as a screenwriting trick. I was like, oh, this is the information I need, and this is being given to me in like on a silver platter that's very nicely done and everything, and not like being force fed to me.
Yeah, we got an interesting dynamic of a partnership between a reporter and a journalist. You've got the new girl who's our Spaany's character that we just go in, and then you got the old guard that was their mentor. So you've got a whole history with conversation that they can talk about as they go on this little journey together.
Yes. And I love that the focus is on the journalism aspect, the photojournalism, like the just journalistic endeavor that they're doing, and the way that it is kind of this neutral sort of like them reporting on things with a neutral eye, and having to come across like the Jesse Plemons of the world and have like bad experiences along the way. And it is a little bit, it's a little bit vague, or a little bit confusing on like whose side is which side is the like good guys, or which side is the bad guys. Right. And like it was not until like kind of advanced in the movie, it's like, oh yeah, okay, so this is actually this is like, okay, I'm getting a sense of what the two sides are, because I was more absorbed in like the experience of everyone doing their thing. It wasn't until late in the movie where I was like making like conscious thoughts about each of the two factions. I was just like kind of along for the ride. Maybe that's a fault of me as a viewer, but
typically, I mean, I'm watching this, and I don't think this is a spoiler. Pretty sure it's not. Visual identifiers. So when we first we stop with them as a group is attacking another group holed up in a building, and the group that we're with following has like Hawaiian shirts on and just regular clothes fighting, and they're fighting a bunch of people in military outfits. So I'm like, oh, these are the rebels, and these are the one. But later on, like everybody's in military outfits, and I'm like, wait, did we go to the other side? But I don't think we did. But I don't think we did. And it's just, I'm like, maybe as you approach DC, everybody becomes more militarized. Yeah. And that's the idea. But I was like, wait, but they could have been now, but there's like 5 different secessions of the country, right? There's like, there's the Florida coalition or whatever. There's the Western forces, there's the loyalists, and then there's up like Oregon, like we're just starting our own thing. Thanks.
That's
bye.
Right. Yeah.
So Jesus, I don't know if they ran into all 5 at some point during this. Yeah. But I just, visual identifiers, I get kind of washed away because I'm normally like, okay, if the people got regular clothes on, they're not military, they're this faction, they're the Western forces, I was guessing.
Yeah. If they have a red lightsaber, they're bad. If they have a blue lightsaber,
right? Yeah, that's how. Yeah, that easy kind of thing. Like the Jackie Chan movies, he wears the white shoes and his bad guys wear the black shoes. So
yeah, there you go. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, but I think that's also just like the vagueness of that is definitely intentional. Like the sniper scene, there's that whole dialogue, which we'll talk about in spoilers, where they're just like, well, it's just, we're doing this. Like, this is just what we're doing. This is the way that it is. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no like why to it. We're just like, this guy has a gun. We have a gun. We're going to take him out if he doesn't take us out or whatever. It's really, and that makes for such a bleak outlook on things, which I think is also really good in terms of social commentary and just like really hammering home that, like what we were talking about, where it's that surreal aspect of seeing like our homeland, our country just devastated and rocked by war. Like war-torn America is a very tough pill to swallow while watching it, and having it not bogged down by having like a big narrative push as to why, it really makes it more accessible for us to kind of just live in this. And that's something that's also expressed with Lee, Kirsten Dunst's character, where like she mentions at one point, like, yeah, I think she says something like, I've covered wars all over the place, but I just never wanted to cover it here. And now I am. And like, her performance is incredible too, because she's just so worn down by everything.
Yeah. No, it's quite good. Like it's very the war. It's interesting. Like, I know people have done, but like in recent history, like this is a good, like just looking at her, like you get, like you feel the wear and tear.
Yes.
From the get go. Like she's not like hot shot. She's just, this is just who I am now. Like there's no excitement to it for her.
Exactly.
It's just like, I wouldn't be anything if I didn't have this. Like that's it.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
And that's countered in such an interesting way with Jessie's character, Cailee Spaeny, her being like, oh yeah, Lee's one of her heroes. Like she's one of her photojournalistic heroes and everything. And it's just like, they kind of have like a mentor-mentee relationship, but it's still like kept so far at a distance because Lee is just so kind of just wrecked by everything that's happened in her experience. I really like that kind of like keeping her at arm's length, but still kind of being drawn into it. That kind of classic sort of mentor-mentee template of storytelling. I thought it was done well.
Yeah, no, it's different than what we see a lot of the time, and it's not overly spiteful, but it's very she's keeping it cautious, and I think there's part of her that sees like she's going to be better than even I am. Like there's sort of a thing like that. There's a sort of thing where also they kind of she struggles with some of the horrors of it, so we get to see her grow into becoming numbed to everything with it.
Yep. Should we go ahead and go into spoilers?
Hey,
there's a few things I want to. Yeah.
Is that one of your brilliant segues there?
Yes.
Oh yeah. That's fine.
Into spoilers.
we can go into spoilers if you feel we had enough non-spoiler we talked.
I think so. Anything in non-spoilers you want to bring up before we run over to the spoiler section and kind of dig more deeper into it?
This movie has been rated R. There you go.
Yes. Yes. And as a huge fan of Letterboxd that you are, what did you rate it on Letterboxd?
I gave it 4 out of 5.
Nice.
I think there's enough here. Like I said, good, not great. I was wanting a little more, I don't know, punch to some of the things, but overall, it surface level, it's fascinating, good, unique entertainment. So
nice. Well said.
At a higher degree. Yeah.
Yep. my kind of knee-jerk rating of it was 4.5 out of 5 stars.
So we're right around the same.
Yeah.
Ideally, yeah.
And like, it's one of those things where I'm curious to see how that changes, if it does change upon repeat viewings. Because like I'm kind of thinking about maybe going to see it again in the theater.
Gotcha.
Because it's such an interesting and somewhat unexpected. I guess I guess I was expecting a lot of it, but it was the vagueness of it, the just kind of the surreal aspect of it was something that I was just really taken with. So I don't know if it'll increase or decrease on repeat viewings, but I rated it 4.5 out of 5 stars. And yeah, let's go ahead and go into spoilers for Civil War. To bring us into that, I'm going to play a clip from the trailer. If you don't want to be spoiled, skip ahead to the secondary review. Check the show notes for timestamps. Once again, those show notes are at obsessiveviewer.com/OV2 or 424. And we're going to go into spoilers for Civil War after this clip from the trailer for the movie.
19 states have seceded.
The United States Army ramps up activity.
The White House issued warnings to the Western forces as well as the Florida Alliance.
The three-term president assures the uprising will be dealt with swiftly.
Let me know if you want to try anything on.
Are you guys aware there's like a pretty huge civil war going on all across America?
We just try to stay out. With what we see on the news, seems like it's for the best.
Citizens of America, the so-called Western forces.
So, spoilers on for Civil War. The first thing I kind of want to bring up is the sound design and just how much it's just it is assaulting. Like it is so intense. Like there were moments where, like, it's a war film through the perspective of journalists covering it, but like it is like he goes all out with the war imagery, the sound design, the visceral violence of it all. I was really just absorbed in that. How'd you feel about that aspect of it?
Yeah, it was great. I have to comment that the quiet is unsettling in the movie.
Yes.
Like just
yeah.
Anytime just out in the woods or in the little like the quiet's quite unsettling, and they do get you at one point with that. So
yes. Yeah.
Which is spoiler, yeah. When they pull up to the little the two soldiers shooting part, when they pull up and the gunshot hits like right at the bar of the seat, I was like, oh geez.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You got me, Civil War. Congrats. I don't jump all the time, but you got me.
That was really intense. That whole sequence was really just I love how it is this tense war scene, like it's almost like an obligatory sniper scene in a war movie. But then it's over and it's just done, and they go about their way and everything.
Yeah,
but like just the information they get, or the detail they get as to the psyche of the soldiers, and as they're talking to them, and how that is kind of reflective of the whole conflict, is really just something that just really kind of grabbed me a bit.
It's sort of like a precursor to the finale if you think about it, but with like there's only one shooter. This is practice. There's one shooter going this way, and you got the soldiers protecting you, and you go crossing around. And then like the finale is like a lot of hallways and shooting.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But yeah. So that kind of plays as like a little precursor to that.
Yep.
In a way. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And some other big kind of set pieces along the way, like the Jesse Plemons thing was intense. That's the most we get of kind of like the ground level conflict. It's an interesting contrast to the like to the shop people that were kind of neutral. I did also, just as someone who does anthology, I really appreciated the Twilight Zone reference in that scene.
There you go.
I was like, yeah, nice. But just it was overall, the movie's intense. The movie is very intense and had me very much it had me unsettled throughout it. And I think that's probably the biggest contributor to me doing 4.5 out of 5 stars. Just the sense of unease I felt.
Oh yeah, and it's very vignette focused, where it's like we stop here, we do this, what's going to happen here. At some point, we're going to lose one of these 4 people. You know, like they're not all making it toward the end.
Right.
I did feel weird about the Jesse Plemons moment. It's one of my weaker points of the movie.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Like getting there, because when they get there, they've got this moment where there's a car following them, and it's like, oh, what's this going to be? Ends up being like, hey, look. You haven't seen us before, but we know everybody.
Yeah, we're friends, but we know each other.
And we do this jumping through the car, and then she jumps through the car, which I guess can be like youth finally having some fun on this trip. But
yes,
and then they take them there, and they were just added because we're not ready to kill any of them yet. So we gotta put some fodder there to ramp up the stakes here. Like because I thought, I was like, oh, they killed the one guy. I'm like, oh, and I was like, oh, they were literally brought in for this scene.
Right.
You know,
just to be killed.
Still a good scene.
Oh,
still
100%.
a good scene. It's just the way they got there. I mean, this is a really tight movie, so I don't need, but like, was that guy at the beginning at all? Like, I remember him talking to somebody when they went to the suicide bombing at the beginning. He gets out, he sees somebody. Oh, but maybe add them to the hotel before they leave or something.
I remember them saying that, like, oh yeah, I talked to, like, I found out that you guys were going to DC because he was hitting on her, and I assume that's at the bar or at the hotel.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, did we see him there? Like, I can't remember if we did or not, but I don't think there was a scene where they interacted with each other there. It could have been at the protest or at the suicide bombing. But yeah, I do wish, like, it did expose a little bit of just the skeletons of the movie. That's like, yes, we need to have these new characters come up specifically to get them killed off because we have this tense scene and we're not going to kill off these guys yet. And then with the way that Sammy gets shot, I also felt like it was effective, but it was also like, this is every war movie.
When he drove off and they were shooting, I'm like, all right, he's getting a bullet.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, oh, when did you get shot? Or something, you know? Like, it was going to be one of those. But I will say, because I was distracted by the Plemons scene and those 2 guys and being like, oh, they brought him to kill, I forgot about him. And when he showed up with the van and hit him, I was like, oh yeah, yes.
I cheered. That was amazing. Oh yeah, 100%. I thought for sure that that Joel was going to get killed or something in that moment. I really liked the whole, like, Jessie being, like, falling into the mass grave.
That was cool. Yeah,
very interesting. Yeah. And then, like, as they're going to the, like, military base or whatever it is, after Sammy's been shot, when they're going there, we get this, like, really beautiful, like, surreal, like, burning forest, like the embers all over the place. It looks like a dream sequence. And I'm like, damn it, Alex Garland, you're great. I love you.
I like his I mean, his movie, he tends to do a lot of, like, upfront focus and then a lot of depth, but blurriness behind which I tend to enjoy from his movies. He's got a talent at it. It's not just like someone hit portrait mode on something like some movies do, but he's got a real eye for it. And I really like what his look like. And this, it just has a distinct look to it, which is, I think, I mean, he shot this digitally, I'm guessing. So this is really good, a good summation of what you can do with good digital photography.
Yeah.
But yeah, that image, and then just like some of the end sequence, like, felt really, like, real in a way. Like,
yeah,
I felt like I was watching when they did the faux limo getaway thing. I felt like I was watching, like, Firsthand or, like, Princess Diana's limo chase at some point. Like, I felt like I was watching that kind of thing happen. And this whole thing, so, like, I accidentally saw one time when it happened, like, they leaked to the internet. There was a video of, like, Saddam Hussein's, like, execution that got on the internet, and, like, I wound up clicking something. I was like, I saw it, and, like, it kind of had vibes in here when they were going to attack the president of, like, just the takeover.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, this reminds me sort of a little of that. But yeah, going from the outside and slowly getting up the yard and getting in the White House and stuff, and it was really tense, brutal, because you're like, oh my gosh. I do like nice touch that this ends going through the press room. That was one of the things that they did, but it was ruthless, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it, but it's just it kind of makes you feel like, wait, it's like capture, kill, no, just kill. And they couldn't take the woman, they just had to like shoot her.
That was
that
was intense.
Not messing around.
No,
getting what you want. But the way they were staging those and using that throughout the film, like, hey, let's just stop the action for a still photograph for a bit, which isn't new or anything, but used in a nice way here, which shows you like, oh, it's the war images come from random places that you don't know
in the
context.
and the added element of it being here, like us, like United States stuff like that. That's like Sammy getting shot is kind of a cliche of like this type of movie, and I can kind of like give a little bit of grief with that, but like having like actual like photographs and like showing it through that perspective throughout the movie is really interesting, because like these are Americans fighting Americans in America, and like I'm an American and I'm like, oh, okay, this is crazy. But like the scale of it, that final assault, like that was just, I mean, it was incredible. It was incredible to watch. It was intense. And like, it made me think throughout the entire time, like, I don't know how like war journalists can do that. I don't know how anyone
I wouldn't know.
I
value my life, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere near that. Anywhere near that. And the one thing that was just like weird, like I felt icky about kind of was the her photographing Lee as she was shot, because I would have been neater if she fell and her camera was going off and caught it, rather than oh, here we go.
Yeah,
it kind of, I was like,
I don't know what statement that's making or what that's gonna like. I agree, and like there's a bunch of different like interpretations of it or elements to it. Like, okay, she's like, Lee is like, okay, Jessie is naive and she's trying, like, I don't think it adequately set up that she's trying to get like a magic shot or anything. Like, she's not, like, I don't think she's trying to do that, but like she puts herself in harm's way for whatever reason, and then Lee like going out of her way to protect her and then getting killed in the process, and then her taking the picture. Like, I liked that only because of like the Jessie of it all, in terms of this is a woman who has just like, her actions have directly resulted in the death of her hero, and she is getting the like money shot of her hero's death. It's like there's some weird layers to that I don't know if I've gotten deep enough with in my analysis of it in my brain, but I think that it's something that's will stick with me for a little bit. I think the imagery of it, at least. Yeah,
I almost want it to have been like she didn't know she captured that, and then she's working on her development and scrolling and seeing that she got that. Like, that
would have been good.
Because I just it's really where maybe that's just she's like just doesn't give a shit now. She's just death is nothing to her. But because then they have, I mean, or you could have used, instead of the soldiers like haha at the end with the developed film during the credits, you could have had it be her death. And we didn't see that photo get taken, but then it shows that it was taken through the credits or at the developing. I don't know. I guess at this time, I saw this movie yesterday. As yesterday, as in the day before we recorded this, so I'm still kind of processing things about the movie, which is good. I liked it. So maybe I figure out in my head or come to a realization of what maybe I think they're going for there, or something like that, or I don't know.
Developing the negatives of it.
Yes. There we go. Put it in the terms of the movie. Yes,
exactly. That's another thing. Also, with Lee's death, I kind of feel like Kirsten Dunst does a fantastic job in this movie. Like, her performance is really good, especially in that final assault where like you see it's like wordless you just see how much everything has weighed on her, how much everything has changed her, how she is like in this state of not a catatonic state, but she's not mentally present in this moment. And
No, yeah.
it's because it's like everything that's happened and everything that's going on, like the big implications of everything. Like it's a big deal. It's finally weighing on her, and then she dies, and then 3 minutes later the movie's over. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of wanted a little bit more like resolution to that. Maybe another scene with Jessie kind of processing that. Yeah, I don't know, but I will say, like, what a freaking killer of a final line. Like the movie ends with the president, like the whole movie, Joel has been like, yeah, I'm gonna interview the president. This is the moment. Like, this is the moment. And then they go in there. Everyone knows that they're going to kill him immediately. He's like, no, I need to get a quote. And just like, it's just so it's fucking delicious. It's fucking delicious. He's just like, don't let them kill me. And then he's like, that'll do. And then boom. It's just like, oh my God, that's so good. Like, even though we don't get much in terms of the backstory of the president or anything, the president is in this movie he is a composite of any fascist state, any dictator, any authoritarian, like all over the world. And like, to have that moment play out like that is just so satisfying, because it exposes like the core of like this type of personality, I guess. Evil.
It's good. We meet him right at the beginning as he's rehearsing how he's going to courageously say some stuff that's not true. Right. And then we hear him through radio broadcast, I think once or twice.
Yep.
And he's this ominous creature. And it's so better to have him be so distant. Like, we know what he looks like. We've seen him a couple. It's Nick Offerman.
Yep.
And you're like, what's it going to be like when we finally get to him? What's it going to be? And, you know, like, are we going to finally get to him? And I like that buildup rather than cutbacks to the president, or, you know, you hear about hearing things with the president. Right. And it's that Wizard of Oz thing. Like, you know, that's what it kind of is. And that always works better, I think, in the buildup, because he's not important. What's important is the people we have here that we're following and learning about their journalistic integrity and learning about sort of like the wartime and a fascist regime of like seceding an entire country that has stood as united for so long. So like I like the ominous creature behind the curtain, and we keep going deeper layers and layers. Like you had the fake out with the limousine, and that poor people getting out like, don't shoot. It's like, immediate. Hey, you're gonna have to go out there and just, you know, be a decoy and die.
Yeah,
those people probably knew they were probably going to die.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, it's just nuts.
Yeah.
That type of desperation. And why wasn't, I mean, the president, like, surprised he was even in the, like, I knew that when the limo came, you're like, he's not in the limo.
No. Yeah.
He's in the White House. But it's crazy that he was at the White House for that length of time, or wasn't in an underground tunnel or something.
Like, the bunker of the White House would have been a good place to be, I would think.
Not in a room with windows. So, like, but I mean, it shows how panicked and idiotic or overconfident that type of fascist leader can be, and trusting in their Secret Service people and the army turning on, like, it's already gone, but like thinking that he probably was assuming he'd be captured and not killed. Yeah. Yep. I think so too. That's just the hubris of it all. I think. The one thing that did bother me, though, and you talked about the opening scene with him rehearsing it and it being a lie, like, that took me out of it, because I can't imagine like a politician lying about anything to anyone. So that was a little weird. I'm joking. I was like, this is a joke. This is it's truth all the time.
I believe everything that everyone tells me all the time. But no, I think that just the fact that we get so little detail about him, but we get enough detail and enough information about everything just through the context clues and through the dialogue here and there is really good. Also, the fact that he's not President Smith, he's just president. Like he doesn't have a name. He's like a nameless entity. It's just, I think that's the people. I don't know. I've seen people say that, you know, it's a little bit direct or it's a little bit surface level, but I think that there's a level of subtlety that people aren't really giving the movie the credit that it deserves for that. It's not a very subtle movie, but like I think there's some subtlety to the storytelling that works really well for what he's presumably going for in this movie.
Yeah, and kudos for putting like Nick Offerman there, because that's a recognizable actor and not in a role you would recognize them as being maybe ever up for.
Right.
So when you see them briefly, it's in your mind, and that's it for the rest of the movie. I think, like you said, shades, and I think that's appropriate with this movie. I think why it's been promoted as apolitical. And you and I talk about confusion about what sides do what or where, and I think it's because there are painted strokes of things, but there's never a full bucket of paint lying around, and that's what's driving some people crazy. Well, of course it's this, of course. I'm like, but if I'm not the other side to view it in a certain way, but I'm sure people see shades of other things. Like I feel like this movie has an opportunity that someone could see something else in it, but they're obviously going to recognize some of the finer points that are a bit more overt. But yeah, like I had these guys sitting like a couple seats down from my wife and I, and it was like I could tell by the way they're dressed they might be thinking, and they kept pointing at screens during a lot of the military action. And they're talking enough to each other like, well, I would have done that or something. Like,
oh boy,
I don't think you understand what this is about. But I was curious. I'm like, I wonder what those guys are viewing this movie as. And the cast of characters in my screening when I went to sit, I was like, okay, this movie's got an appeal to like a wide variety of people right now. So yeah, and I feel like I have a feeling the certain sect of people want to see it because they think they're going to be painted in some awful light, so they might be going to see it just to be like or something, to have an opinion or to be angry about it.
100%.
Don't think there's a ton there to make them super angry. Like I feel like that's where I'm saying like it doesn't punch hard enough at the point it might be trying to make, but I don't know. That's just kind of my thing.
Yeah, well, that's why I say that it's something that feels like, yes, it's not punching hard enough at those particular caricatures of our culture, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's also the kind of the way that it paints the president as a fascist, as like, and gives that context, just says all they say in the movie is that he abolished the FBI and I think the CIA, and he did his own, like he decided to go for a third term and became like installed himself as a dictator. And it's like, yeah, like that is what like a fascist regime would do. That's what. And
if you search the tweets of a certain president, you might find those phrases.
If you turned on the TV on January 6, 2021, like that.
But those are also the funny thing is though. So if you go on to if you wander on over to the Newsmax, the Fox News sites, these are things that they project onto like your Joe Bidens and your Barack Obama. Remember, Barack Obama's going to find a way to get a third too. He never said that.
You mean Barack Hussein Obama?
Hussein Obama. No, he never said that. But these are the things that those outlets projected onto these people, and they say they're the fascists. So they could go in this movie and possibly like, oh yeah. But those are merely projections. There's not literally those guys or anyone around them saying those things. Those are projections to rile up their base and hopefully stay. So and sell my pillows. But
yes,
that's the thing. So they see those things. They don't get we're literally going off of what a guy said, well, like I said, and going, yeah, that can be represented. But in their light, those are the projections their news media is putting on these people.
Yep.
And their politicians also say those things about these people as well. They're never said by these people, but that's maybe where they could go in and go, I see that guy as that, instead of where you and I see one other. So that maybe is where there's a balance, but
that is such an eloquent way to say what I think I kind of said a little bit in my Letterboxd review, but I said it in a different way. On Letterboxd, I said at the end of it, I said, what's funny is that the brain dead Fox News and MAGA dipshits will see it as an attack on their guy without realizing the similarities to him are just the benchmarks of authoritarianism and not direct criticisms of any one particular person in American politics. So well said on your part.
Okay.
Yeah, very eloquently said. Yeah, I think that there's a lot to this movie that I feel like people expecting something more out of it. I can understand the disappointment, but I got a lot out of it.
Yeah, I got plenty. It's entertaining. At its core, it's a unique, entertaining piece of entertainment. And like, I want people to go out and see stuff like this. So I definitely will say, yeah, it's worth your time. It's not only thrilling, but it's got it'll make you think. It's nice something to take with you after the movie and debate, and go have yourself a coffee or something with somebody, or maybe a bourbon or whatever you choose to do, and have a chat what's going on about the movie, beyond, well, that was nice, or that was good, or isn't she pretty, or something like that. You know, you can actually talk about some core thematics and things like that.
Coming back. Okay. Okay.
So no, there's like beyond, like, there's the people that like, I live right now, watch the news, I don't need to relive that. And I'm like, go see that. Maybe it will. Yeah, maybe it'll make you think of something. Maybe you let it play out, let it do stuff. Like, you know, I don't understand that mentality of like, you know, no, if I'm down, you know, sometimes when I'm down, I'll watch a down movie. It works. It's helpful. It's like, but people just treat like stuff like we just need bubble gum and all this stuff all the time. It's like, no, have some steak, like, or if you're a vegan, a fancy vegan meal, like, exactly, eggplant. Fancy eggplant. Yeah. There you go. That just tangent. I shouldn't even really bring this up or anything, but like, I did get like we were talking before the show, like experiences on like YouTube and TikTok and stuff. Like, I posted my Godzilla X Kong review, like clips of it from a previous episode of the podcast, on YouTube, and like someone commented when like what the clip that I had posted was like me saying that like I feel like the scale of Kong, it was not like up to par. Like I couldn't get a sense of like how gigantic the creatures in Hollow Earth were versus when they were in regular Earth or whatever. And that kind of took me out of the movie. In my opinion, valid criticism. And like someone on YouTube was like, stop. This is a movie strictly for entertainment purposes. You need to go outside. And I was like, it's in theaters. I went outside to go see the movie, first of all. I was inside for at least 3 minutes between going in and going out. 3 minutes, yeah. Plus the 7 or 8 minutes in my car. That's kind of outside. Yeah. But I was just tickled that it was like, it's a valid criticism, and I got told to basically touch grass. That's a weird one to say that too. Like, that's just like, I was just kind of a little confused of how big. I mean, the whole place takes place in a fictional zone. I mean, and I get that. Like, that was not a concern of mine with the movie, but if that's yours, that's a-okay. Like, but yeah, that's a movie that, you know, was trying to make they lowered the budget on that, and they, you know, you can, you know, 4 human characters, and it takes place all in the Hollow Earth. I get it. It's fine. And for the most part, I thought it was fine. No, it's a big dumb fun movie. Like I like those. It delivered. It was Kong, Godzilla, and fighting. So like I was like, there you go.
We got Kong, we got Godzilla, we got X, we got A New Empire. Yeah, we're good.
My biggest gripe with that movie, well, honestly, was the part where they're all gearing up to drive to the Hollow Earth for the first time, and they're playing Twilight Zone. I was like, oh, when they get in there, they're gonna kick it into and no, it would stop the song. And it was like all that, and then like a little bit, you got the chorus from a distance. So like, and I was like, dude, you were supposed to punch it on that chorus. You were supposed to hit hard. I was like, yeah, we're gonna. And then I got robbed of that. No. I was like, bad. Don't tease me like that. But that was my concern for this. There were no hit tunes here. There was like some country song played here. I'm not a country expert.
Me neither.
I know I'm a poor researcher because I didn't look that up before I came. But,
well, I didn't either. Welcome to the Obsessive Viewer.
It's not the Obsessive Country Viewer.
Exactly.
The Obsessive Country Listener. That's what it's not.
Yes.
So, no. But no, like, it's gonna be a weird one with people's thoughts on it, and if they listen to this episode and hate me because of things I said. I'm trying to be balanced here, but like, this is what I see in the world, and the perspective I have from the places I've been and the places I go and what I do. And, but like, I think this movie is something to see, and it is, like, I think there's a real hunger now for stuff, like should be a hunger for stuff like this. And it's building, I don't know what else to say.
Social commentary, things that will make you kind of, if not reposition your view on things, like it'll at least give you an interesting perspective.
Yeah, adults used to want these movies.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Also, I'm kicking myself because last week on the podcast, I did my secondary review was for Girl State, a great documentary on Apple TV Plus. But I was like, damn, I should have used that for this episode because Girl State is about teenage girls doing like a mock government thing and over a week period. Really great documentary. But anyway, but we're doing Late Night with the Devil, which is great. Also, like it's good to have two.
That's a very good movie.
Yeah, two very good movies to review this week on the show. So
I mean, you got the president in this, and then the devil.
Exactly. Yeah. So, Brandon, as we kind of wind down, any other thoughts and spoilers you want to talk about with Civil War or anything else?
No, pretty good. Go check it out. It's definitely worth your time. I think it's theater worthy. I mean, like it's a big, it's got a nice scale to it. Plays well on the big screen. I was stunned. Off subject, but like the Kevin Costner movie, The Horizon. That trailer. I only watched it on my phone. The trailer when it came out, but I saw on the big screen. That played like gangbusters for me. Way better than watching on my. I was like, oh, okay, this looks a lot better on the big screen than on my phone. Like I was like, okay, this is gonna be.
I don't think I've actually seen that trailer yet. Now that I think about it,
I don't know. Well, one was Civil War, so I guess like well, in the Old West they had one, so we'll throw it here. But yeah, so I was like, that one played. I was like, okay, this is why you see things on the big screen.
Yeah. I had that experience with Twisters, the trailer for Twisters. I was like, when the Super Bowl ad came out and I watched it on my phone, I was like, oh, I mean, I love the first Twister. Like that was a formative movie growing up. But like seeing the sequel trailer, the reboot, whatever you want to call it, on my phone, I was like, okay. But then in the theater, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm all for it. Yeah, let's do this. So,
well, do you ever? So, sorry to keep taking you on side quests here. On
your, no, you're fine. Again, welcome to the Obsessive Viewer.
Do you ever like
in nicely?
Do you ever like? So I'll get like the new trailer pops up, and I'm like, I know I'm going to the movies on the weekend, and I'm like, you know what? That one's I'm saving for my first view, hopefully. And then sometimes I'll go expecting to get that trailer, and I don't get it. And I'm like, but like nice. Was it the Furiosa trailer? I'm like, nope, wait for the weekend. I'm gonna watch that on the big screen, and so I wait for that, and then there'll be ones where I'm like, nope, I'm going to the movies this weekend. I'm usually my phrase is I'm going to the movies this weekend, but I usually see a movie or two on the weekend, but like
Yeah.
I will save ones because I'm like, I don't want my first one to be on the phone unless it's something like I just like gotta see and talk. Like I'm gonna not be able to avoid. But like, yeah, that the Casa, that's what happens. Like I was like, okay, I'll watch on my phone. I'm like, yeah, I'll go see it. And then like I see it on the big screen. I'm like, oh wow, this is epic.
Oh yeah.
Like,
And yeah, I had an interesting experience too. And then this can be kind of the end because I don't want to take up too much more of your night. But
You're
like, I, as the listener knows, I'm a big proponent of AMC A-List. I have A-List. It's freaking great. So like what I have found is that with A-List, you get 3 tickets a week for a flat rate, you know, whatever, any format. So like what I've found myself doing is I've gravitated more toward the Dolby screenings. I just think that like the sound is great and it looks good. It looks really good. But Civil War was the first time in a while that I did the digital IMAX, the LIMAX screening.
FOMAX, yeah, full IMAX.
Yeah. And like, not only are the recliners a lot better because they're just there's more leg room because the Dolby theater in that theater just has like very little, like you're touching the railing. But like it looks good, it's big, it's huge, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna see more IMAX movies here because why have I not done that?
I stopped going to the AMC. You're talking about the AMC in Castleton?
Yep, Castleton.
Yeah. I stopped going to that one.
You stopped going there because this one guy and this girl were there like a couple of years ago. It was really creepy.
No, I was still time to time, but like there's a period where there was like a bunch of shootings at that mall, and my wife was like, "Can you stop taking the kids?" So I am a proponent of that A-List and stuff. That Dolby theater is nice, but I will say I went and saw The Abyss there when it was released.
Oh yeah,
and like I was like, man, someone's not keeping maintenance on these chairs and stuff. Lately.
Oh my god,
so,
no, yeah. They're so worn down. It's so weird. It's like the cover is like I've noticed that. Yeah, that's one big downside.
But the A-List program's really good and it pays for itself quickly.
Yep.
If you go to movies regularly. And then but yeah, like I've been going to the Imagine up in Noblesville and I sing it praises all the time.
Nice.
The one thing I like about them is all their screens are 235 like they should be. So the big movies look big. They're not cropped down to fit on a 185 screen. And the seats have seat warmers and very comfortable. They have a big auditorium for the main screen, and all the other screens are pretty good. It's very clean, and the employees feel like they actually like working there. That's one of the things too. And they have a rewards program that's quite good too. It's not as good. So the thing I don't like about it is like you get free movie tickets, but you can't use them until the movie's been out for 2 weeks. So I go right away a lot of the time. And then sometimes when I get to that, I'm like, okay, I'll wait. And then like the showings are like 2:30 on a Tuesday. Not like that would be like the showing is like one screening at one time at like 2:30 a day if the movie doesn't do well. So I'm like, so I guess not gonna go. I did have to go see something at the Glendale Theater.
Oh my god,
a couple weeks ago. And I'm not going to sing that one praises. I believe the toilet that was broken the last time I was there is still broken, and the last time I was there was probably pre-pandemic.
Oh wow, yeah, that tracks. That I've been there for a few press screenings here and there, and like every time I've gone there, it's been just like the sound is terrible. Like it's projection is really really bad too. I got invited to an early screening of the Batman there, and I turned it down. And they're like, "It's free." I'm like, "I want to enjoy this if I can," and I'm not gonna go to that theater that has the state-of-the-art stadium seating from 2003, and the projection's iffy. It's a smaller screen, and the sound. Maybe it's 5.1. I'm not sure, but I'm like, I want to enjoy the movie. I like to give movies their best chance. Yeah. That's the thing. So I wish it was nicer because it's close to my house, but yeah. So that's us ragging on the The local theater places.
I will say though, in defense, it's a landmark one. Your Keystone Arts Mall one's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Feels like I'm going to a rich guy's house to watch a movie when I get in the screening room. Very lovely. I love your choice of movies, and I always talk about we get the international movies, like limited release movies there, and then they'll play like Godzilla X Kong because they need money too. So
they do. Like I need to go there more often because I'm so spoiled on the subscription model with A-List. So it's like if I go see a movie, it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go there instead of Keystone Art, which is ridiculous because Keystone Art is like right there. Like I'm pointing, like it's right next to me, and like they do such a great job of programming. Like I think they still do this, but like every Tuesday it's like the retro rewind.
They're doing a 70s this year. Is this? I missed. I was like, I had a note to myself because they were showing Dirty Harry, and I've never seen Dirty Harry on the big screen. I'd love to see it 35 mil, but beggars can't be choosers. And I was like, oh, cool. And then week later, I was like, or the week after, I was like, oh yeah, I was gonna go see Dirty. It's already aired. It already played.
It's rough.
But the Imagine does flashback cinema too, and they have some really good. I've gotten a couple of those, and actually good projection on some of those. I saw like Escape from New York there and Terminator 2. Nice. So yeah, they do good stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, speaking of doing good stuff, Brandon, as we wind down, do you want to tell people where they can find the Brandon Peters Show and where they can find you on socials?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Brandon Peters Show, you can go to brandonpetersshow.com or anywhere podcasts are found except for SoundCloud. I have a YouTube channel as well, which is youtube.com/Brandon Peters Show, or just look up Brandon Peters Show on there. There's a football player with the same name as me that drives me nuts. So look for my mug, not his. And then on socials, I'm at Brandon 4K UHD, like a television set. Everywhere you go, and Letterboxd. Follow me on Letterboxd. We talk about that. I'm trying it out this year after many years of being about it, but I'm doing it now, and it's not bad. I always remember log my movies and check it out what I'm watching. I watch Matt watches a lot. I watch a lot too. So it's probably an unhealthy amount of movies already to this point of 2024. So that's there. And then also anything popcorn, you can look at popcorn.us.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this review of Civil War. We're going to bid adieu to you and then go on to our secondary review here in just a moment. But once again, thank you so much, Brandon, for joining me. And we'll have to do this again soon at some point.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crossing the felt ropes, watching from home on my TV, looking at all my eyes can see. They tell me I view obsessively.